Hey guys, welcome back. This is WYXR 91.7 FM, left of your radio dial. I am Chris, and this is a different edition of Sound Bites. I'm Chris Herrington from the Daily Memphian. I'm here live in studio this week with usual Sidebar host Eric Barnes, and one of my many sort of in the rotation of Sound Bites hosts, Holly Whitfield. It is Pledge Drive week, and so we're doing this on the fly. Eric has promised us freeform jazz for the next hour, so I'm not sure what we're talking about. But we're
not musical freeform jazz.
Sound Bites is a food show, and Sidebar is an arts and culture show, and they're both Memphis shows. And we're going to talk about Memphis and talk about WYXR. Yep. And it is Pledge Drive week. And Eric, what's up?
It is weird to be in the studio. I wish we could do this show. I wish I could do Sidebar from the studio every week live. It'd be so much fun, and it is absolutely utterly impossible. But it is fun to be in here. So, yeah. You guys both were joking like over the last couple of days, like, Eric, what's the plan for this? I'm like, well, we're just going to talk. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but what's the plan? And you said, I did not know this, Chris, although it doesn't surprise me in a bit, that you have a whole outline. You're a very organized man.
Well, if I'm hosting, which for the next hour, I'm mostly going to make you do that.
Yeah.
But if I'm hosting, I don't like to just show up, and it depends on the topic. If it's like the Grizzlies pod, whatever, I'll just talk. But I like to have some sort of idea and structure of where I'm going, and yeah, it's not. I think my inclination is more writing than talking, even though I find myself talking like every day on some medium or another.
Yeah. No, and I have an outline for Sidebar usually, but something like this I don't. And we're doing a seminar later today, and I'll have an outline for that, kind of. Holly, are you an outline person?
I'm an outline person, or at least a mental outline.
Yes.
But I appreciate when I'm on the podcast, the Sound Bites with Chris, that we talk about a lot of different things that whenever I'm on. You and I are going through kind of rapid fire, sometimes with Natalie Van Gundy, and giving people a lot of information at once, so the outline is helpful for going down kind of a quick list.
A roadmap does not preclude detours, you just sort of have a sense of like the general, where you're starting and where you're trying to end up and like what you may do. We should tell people this is Pledge Drive week. There are two ways to give. You can go to WYXR.org and do so. You can call. We are not going to answer the phone, but someone will. You can call 901-460
if I know where it is.
3031. You could be the next to pledge, and that would be super great if you did. You can be a part of the community that keeps community radio strong. We're not just people who have shows on WYXR. I have two, at least for now. Yeah. I'll be back doing this again in a few hours this afternoon on my show Sing All Kinds at 4. The Daily Memphian is part of the origin story of WYXR, and as a publication, we are invested in WYXR.
Yeah. The story was, so if WYXR is 3 years old, full disclosure, I'm on the board, and we're a founding Daily Memphian, U of M, and Crosstown Concourse. It's really Crosstown Concourse. We're the founding partners. And David Rudd, the former president of U of M, I've told this story before, but he called...
Now part of the transition team for the new mayor.
Yes, that's right. Yes, full circle. David Rudd called...
Also my wife's former boss.
There you go. By the way, in terms of your wife, former boss, you're not leaving the Daily Memphian, and you're not leaving... You're staying in... Your wife is taking a job up in Minneapolis.
Yeah, most people listening have no idea what we're talking about.
Yes. But it's out there in social, and I do feel like it has to be addressed.
Yeah, so my wife, who works at the University of Memphis, has accepted a job at her alma mater and mine, McAllister College in St. Paul, Minnesota, which is also her hometown, so it's homecoming times 2 for her. And she's going up there to start that job. My son's in the 8th grade, we will be in Memphis full-time for the rest of the school year, which is also the rest of this basketball season, which is relevant to my life.
Just a little.
But after that, the plan, which we have a mutual agreement on, we have not worked out details, but the plan is for me to be a full-time Daily Memphian while being a part-time Memphian. All my family's here. My dad, my stepmom, my brothers, my mother's right across the river. And so I both want and need to maintain very strong ties in Memphis, and so the hope is to continue doing so.
Yeah. No, I think it's going to be great. It's all going to work out. But I because it's sort of out there, I've had a few people go, wait, is Chris leaving? And so with that, we're not going to run a story saying Chris Herrington not leaving the Daily Memphian, but it is worth mentioning.
No, Jeff said to me, our colleague Jeff Calkins, who I talk on the radio with every day, said to me at one point, "So are you going to make an announcement?" I'm like, I'm not the mayor. I don't know what that means,
Well, if you don't, other people will for you.
Well,
so
apparently there was something on Facebook about it because I was at Grizzlies practice and Mark
Jones,
Mark Giannotto, our a friend from the Commercial Appeal walked up with his phone and said, "Look at this." I'm like, "It's out." I'm like, the school put out a press release.
Yeah.
The other school, the school she's going to, it's not a secret. So there we go.
Yeah.
Anyway, you still got me to kick around.
Yes, definitely, thankfully. But U of M, David Rudd came to us probably 4 years ago. He called Andy Cates, the friend and board chair and one of the co-founders of Daily Memphian, said, "Hey, I want to talk about a radio station, WMR." And we went and had breakfast with he and some other folks, provosts, some deans, and he said, "Look, it's not working for U of M for a variety of reasons. We were what, a year and a half old then. Maybe you guys want to do something with it." We were both excited and horrified because, especially, I mean, it's always a circus, putting out a newspaper every day, but it was even more of a circus a year and a half in. But then Crosstown got involved, and it all made sense because they had already started to put an even bigger emphasis on music up at the Green Room and in the theater having opened. And then Robbie came in, thank God, as a consultant to kind of give some shape to what this thing might be. And then, thankfully, he ran the search for an executive director, and it was funny. He found himself. It was kind of, as Andy Cates said on a podcast, it was like Dick Cheney running the search.
That's exactly the joke I was about to make.
I'm hoping Robbie's in the other room and he's listening to me. But and then JB came in, and then all the great folks. And so it's been an incredible thing that it's 3 years, that it launched during COVID. Still blows my mind.
Right.
I remember being in here in a mask, scared out of my mind as on that
my first show was sort of a surviving the pandemic themed show. I do a theme most weeks unless I run out of time. And that was my first theme.
So anyway, that's the origin story. So it's been a great fit. Natalie Van Gundy couldn't be here because she's getting ready for our seminar later today, but she's one of the voice of, I jokingly call her, even though it's true, I don't know why it's a joke, the voice of the Daily Memphian news broadcasting. And so she does all the spot news throughout the day here, and produces these shows normally when we're in our world headquarters downtown.
So you brought up something I still wanted to get into for a second. If we were to delve into my personal business, we could delve into yours a little bit. So you are, you are not only
only divorced twice. Okay, come on.
You are a Crosstown resident, right?
I am a Crosstown, 5.5 years.
Yeah, so that's no secret. We're all three of us are Midtowners. You are right here in the building.
Yes.
So one of the cool things about WYXR, if you are a supporter of the station, if you want to become a supporter of the station in this hour, you will not only be supporting what you hear on your radio dial or on your phone app or on WYXR.org, every hour of the day. The station really has tentacles doing things outside of just the broadcast, and that includes things in the building, the Race by Soundfest, which is coming up in December, the studio sessions that they do up at the Memphis Listing Lab, all kinds of other cool events. But the cool thing about this station being in this building is there's cool stuff happening in this building all the time.
Yeah.
And I wonder, and I'm someone, I live in the neighborhood roughly, and I lament that I don't get out to stuff as much.
Right.
How often do you leave your apartment, not to go sit with your laptop in front of French Plug, because I know you do that,
right,
but to get out to other things going on in the building?
I've been not as much as I used to, which is kind of true generally post-COVID. I haven't gone, and it's embarrassing and it's kind of confusing, but my girlfriend and I have not been going to as much live music anywhere. It's just sort of a weird habit that we dropped. We used to be regulars at DKDC or the Green Room or all that, and now we haven't. And so we're sort of looking at each other why aren't we doing that more? And because we need to. And there is just so much. Sometimes, honestly, there's so much going on in Crosstown that it's a little daunting to pick which thing you're going to do. I mean, that sounds like I'm an ad for the place, and I'm not. But it is kind of, you sort of look at the list and go, oh my God, there's 20 things happening that are really interesting this month.
I believe today's Thursday, right? Yeah. So tonight at 7 p.m., the weekly Crosstown movie that they do every week, which I really lament I don't get to that often enough. They're showing Suspiria, which is a really cool horror movie.
Spooky.
From the late 70s.
The original one?
The original, it was remade a few years ago.
Yeah, Tom York did that's the only reason I know.
Yeah, Luca Guadagnino. I mispronounced.
Nice.
He directed the remake. But let's go past that pronunciation. It's Dario Argento, Italian filmmaker, did the original, and it's it's the big intersection of horror and art film kind of stuff, and it's a really stylish, garish. It's about a German ballet academy that turns out to be a witch's coven, And it's an American student that's there. I haven't seen that movie in 20-something years. I'd like to go see it tonight. I will not.
Yeah, that's pretty much the last thing on earth I want to do tonight because I hate horror movies and they haunt me for weeks at a time, as I've talked about many times on the Sidebar when it comes up. Is like, especially during, and my brother's the same way. There's probably some family tragedy that we don't want to talk about that caused this, but he can't watch horror movies either. We blame it on watching The Omen when we were like 6 in our uncle's basement where he had HBO and it was really great. And we were down there watching The Omen. And it was just terrifying. And neither of us can watch horror movies. It haunts me. I literally wouldn't sleep well for a week if I went and saw Suspiria.
Maybe wait till next month because it's all horror movies. They're showing Get Out, which is not really a horror movie. They're showing Get Out, which is great, but not a horror movie.
See, I can't even watch that. Really? I think I watched part of that because during COVID, my daughter loves horror movies and Leslie, my girlfriend, loves horror movies, and so they would sort of force me to watch them, and it would be I can't even tell you how awful an experience it was for me. I would get to where I basically just put on headphones and watch like a Marvel movie on my iPad just to like I'm not here because it was so terrifying for me.
It's the suspense.
It's everything about it. It just, and it really can be. It's the gore, the suspense, the loud noises, the being startled, everything about it. The kind of supernatural stuff. I'm like, well, that could be real. That could be, yeah, sure. People walk on ceilings. That's real. I mean, I lose it. I hate it. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I'm not disappointed. Well, maybe you would prefer some of the other events that they have.
I know.
Yeah, where are you, Holly, on horror movies and or crosstown events?
I for many years felt the same way that you do, Eric, where I was like, this is too stressful, this is gross, or something like that. Over the past few years, all of my friends are super horror movie fans. They've always watched them. So I started sort of easing in, and I think I get it more now. And so here and there, if I'm in the mood, I'll watch something super creepy. And it's fun. And I love Halloween. So I'm into it now.
The one exception for me is, although it does terrify me, is The Shining. Because I love that movie so much. So that's one that if I can watch and it will haunt me and I won't sleep well, but I do like watching that movie just because it's such an incredible movie.
I tried to get my son to read The Shining this summer, and then he didn't follow through on that. But then my daughter picked it up because he brought it with him on vacation and then wasn't reading it. And she had finished her book and needed something else to read. So she picked it up and she really was into that.
Yeah.
I was a big Stephen King guy.
I kind of was.
As a kid.
Which maybe that was part of it too. I had a phase, but I liked things like The Stand that were less horror and more sort of, apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic and stuff. So
right. Holly, how much time do you waste at Crosstown Concourse?
I don't waste any time here, but I do spend a decent amount of time here. It's a good spot for me to come in and work all the time, and I've sent Eric several complaints about if I'm like, this plug doesn't work in the exact
I have
seat.
some authority over this. Yeah,
I'm like, you live here, can you fix this plug exactly the seat I like? No, there's so many different
that
spaces.
that is the trick. There's all kinds of nooks and crannies, but you got to find the nook and cranny where you can get some electricity going.
I like the 7th floor. That's great. I will tell you.
7th floor is where the two bars on either end are. The two like wooden. Yes. No, I find myself up there a lot. That is reliable. It's a reliable place. You will find an open seat, and you will find an open seat with an outlet in front of you.
Exactly. Right? So for many years, I have worked either from home or sort of out and about. So I'm really used to doing that. I don't want to sit in my house all the time if I'm not at the Daily Memphian World headquarters, or on the weekends I come up here and do that. But I will say one time I did come and I had a lot of work to get done. I was writing something and there was a Brazilian drum festival happening in the central atrium, and it was beyond white noise.
Yeah.
It was not providing the kind of white noise that some people like to write with like I do. It was very loud, but it was very cool. I mean, every weekend I'm like, what's going to be going on in there now? They've got a colorful banner set up in the central atrium right now. You can see it from where we're recording for the Dia de los Muertos preview, I think, this weekend. So it's always something.
I've been in here many times with my headphones on and thought to myself, wow, this music's a little more droney than I expected. And then I realized, no, it's someone playing violin. 30 yards away, or cello. And then I take my headphones off and I listen to them.
About living here, I always tell people, as a resident, you don't hear any of that. The loudest thing you've ever heard or seen in this place, which was probably the loudest, was there was a dance rap, like it was a juking festival. It was something. It was this worldwide thing that Red Bull put on. It was so like
that's the Memphis Jukin.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And once you go up into the residence area, you can't hear it. It's the craziest thing. It's so quiet up there. So anyway,
if you're enjoying listening to Eric talk about all the things we're talking about, I'm trying. This is not my greatest strength, this pledge drive. Sorry, Robbie. Yeah. I'm trying. If you're listening to WYXR right now, and you must be, whoever you are listening right now. If you're enjoying the banter, if you're enjoying the music that happened before and that will come later, you know what you need to do. There's 2 ways to give. This is Pledge Drive Week. You can go to WYXR.org. You can call 901-460-3031. WYXR is a nonprofit radio station, and we rely on your support to keep the music flowing, to keep the talk flowing, to keep the events flowing, like the ones we've been talking about, beyond just the broadcast schedule. Your donation helps us pay for the equipment, facilities, and the staff that make WYXR possible.
It's funny to be sitting here, and I said I'd mention this without crying. This is one of the first pledges I've done without Jennifer. I was thinking I did probably 3 or 4 live pledge drives because they do 2 a year. And I think we did the one in the spring. I think the one in the spring is the one where we were talking about how you couldn't be here and Natalie was here and we were talking.
I will never live this down.
It was just the greatest thing ever. We were like, Chris can't be here because he's on his way to a Grizzlies playoff game.
It was the middle of the Grizzlies playoffs.
Yeah. And as we're literally talking, Chris walks by the window.
I was leaving the next day to go to Los Angeles. I was trying to write on deadline ahead of leaving.
It was just.
Sometimes you got too many balls in the air and you got to take one of the balls out before you drop the rest of the balls.
It was just the funny thing that we didn't really know. We just were convinced that you were gone. We were convinced ourselves you were gone. But obviously, it is. I had a lot of fun with Jennifer doing these.
Playoffs is when you start throwing things overboard so the ship won't sink.
Yeah.
It's one of those kind of things.
I'm 100% sure.
Jennifer was very adept at the freeform.
Yes. Oh God. Yes. She would. Yes.
There was no problem running out of things to talk about or not coming up with things to talk about.
No.
When Jennifer was in front of the microphone or just across from you at over lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. We obviously miss her terribly.
Terribly. It's very, very odd. Very sad. But what else? Let's think about.
I think this half hour is supposed to be sound bites.
It's supposed to be sound bites. So talk about food. Talk about what some of the shows this year. You guys have been doing some stuff. You and I did 1 or 2 shows. I can't remember.
We did.
Was it last week we talked about road trips, or was that 2 weeks ago?
It was.
We talked about road trip food, gas station food. I'm guessing you're not a Big Gulp Mountain Dew guy. You were not in on that.
I am not a Big Gulp Mountain Dew guy anymore. No.
Anymore?
Oh no, yeah, well, yeah. No, I grew up drinking Coca-Cola and fish sticks and candy bars and whatever you could. I lived at the 7-Eleven or out west. It was the AM/PM mini market. That was a big place.
Did they do fish sticks in the Pacific Northwest? That's gas station food.
No, I don't. I suppose there weren't. I was just thinking of really bad food
on the rollers.
On the rollers, that'd be good. Actually, they might now. I don't know, but the big one was the you could get.
It seems like they should.
You could get 2 chili cheese dogs for 99 cents. And so if you'd perhaps been out drinking and were an underage person and you would go and buy like a giant Coke, like a Big Gulp kind of size Coke, and then you get 2 chili cheese where the chili and the cheese came out of the like ketchup plunger.
Spout?
No, but it just came out of a plunger. And you would I remember eating those and just being so happy. So I had my time where I ate really bad road trip type food. And I drove, I used to drive. I went to school in Connecticut and I lived in the Northwest. I drove across country there's no way to eat healthy or even try. And at that point in my life, I wasn't trying to. So I'd be
packing a lunch or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I stuck to, as I acknowledged on the show, I stuck to my classic. I always have this on a road trip. I never have it unless I'm on a road trip, which is my Nutty Buddy. I got a Nutty Buddy going each way, my little Debbie. We did not do real food at the gas stations. We went through Panera and then some other burger place drive-in. But one thing I was more attuned to what do these gas stations have since we had talked about it. And there was somewhere in Illinois we stopped and maybe they were just getting into the fall vibe and the fall mood. But they were doing candied apples, and I don't want a candied apple even if someone else
driving,
even if someone else is driving, I don't want it in the car. I don't want it.
Steering wheel will be all sticky. Everything would be sticky.
I actually don't want it ever because I think my teeth will literally be pulled out of my mouth. Yeah. But that, I'd never seen that at a gas station.
Yeah. What I used to drive to Nashville a lot, just because I was involved with the Press Association and other stuff, and really until the Starbucks, and this is not saying a lot, until the Starbucks opened in Jackson, it was I determined it was impossible to get healthy food between Memphis and Nashville, and I would drive that weekly for years, like for the 4 months of the legislative session, I would be up there almost every week. And you just give up. Like it would be Arby's.
It's like a 3-hour drive. I think you can handle 3 hours without sustenance.
But but you're hungry. Like you leave and it's like lunchtime, and you got to eat something, or you just go and you got to get gas, and you're like tempted by some sort of candy bar. I mean, it was always that was bad. So I can't claim that I'm really.
I actually drove back from Nashville yesterday.
Yeah.
And we stopped at a gas station convenience store. I think it used to be a Pilot, and now it's called something like a Stop 9. But I was thinking about our sound bites, Chris, because this place had everything. It wasn't like Buc-ee's. Okay, it wasn't Buc-ee's level, but they had pizzas that looked not bad, actually.
Okay.
Like under the warmers, they had like chicken tenders, they had wings, and the people that worked here, I think they were having a pretty good time because they had like decorated pumpkins. They had like a section where there was like, here's our Stop 9 gas station pumpkins. It was like not quite to Jackson.
Not quite to Jackson.
Still on the Nashville side. Anyways, I was thinking about all the snacks we were talking about on our podcast while I was there, but that was a good spot. If you're hungry, there you go, Eric.
That's good to know.
They have little fruit cups and stuff too, so there you go. Health.
Yeah, some of them do have. Yeah, like the pilots and the big ones now have actually slightly healthy food. But again, I often will just break down and get Arby's, and it's like an excuse to have Arby's or excuse to have a fillet of fish. That road trip is a great excuse to have a fillet
Arby's
of fish.
and fillet of fish.
Yeah, you're hitting some like you're sort of around the edges of like the fast food universe here.
Those are some hot takes.
And my Arby's order is a chicken, bacon, and Swiss. I don't do the roast beef.
Oh, I think that sounds safer to me than the roast beef.
It's not safe, but it's safer.
Yeah.
Emphasis on the Yeah.
We hit a Panera on the way up. We hit a Freddy's on the way down.
Where's the Panera in Jackson?
Jennifer Big.
Oh no, you're talking about going up.
Going up to Chicago. Is that where we went? That's where we went.
Yeah.
I had some really good sort of Indian fusion food when we were in Chicago. So the New York Times put out a list 2 or 3 weeks ago on the 50 best restaurants in America today. I'm sad to tell you there were no Memphis restaurants on the list. There was one Nashville restaurant. Now I can't remember which one it was. But there were 2 Chicago restaurants, and we got reservations at one of them, which was like an Indian street food thing, and it was supposed to be something that had been a kiosk in a food hall, and they just opened a restaurant, and we were excited about that because like it's supposed to be one of the 50 best restaurants in America today, but not super expensive and whatever. And we got reservations, and then there was a COVID outbreak in the kitchen, and they canceled all the reservations.
Oh, no.
For the weekend. So we looked around, we found some Indian fusion place in the Logan Square neighborhood. We went there instead, and that was real good. And we had a butter chicken calzone, which works. I'd recommend that.
Yeah,
and some other more conventional dishes, some chat, some dishes, some Indian snack food, and Manchurian potatoes and all kinds of good stuff. And then I came back and I saw our Joshua Carlucci, who is a regular contributor to our food section at the Daily Memphian, had visited day one of Cafe India, a new Indian place on Hacks Cross. And we got lots of Indian restaurants in town, and this one is a Memphis location of a restaurant that's based in Franklin, Tennessee. And normally I'm like, I welcome all restaurants, but like, we have Indian at home, like we don't need it imported from like other things. But this restaurant has a really extensive menu, and it looks like the buffet is a lot bigger than your typical buffets. And like, I don't know, I'm kind of interested in checking that out. Yeah. I'm a fan of Indian food. Where are you guys on Indian food?
I'm okay with it. I don't like it when it's not good.
Right.
Like, I mean, it can be, it falls off a cliff. And I think I've had enough bad Indian food that I'm kind of like, I just don't try, which is kind of dumb.
I love Indian food, and we have some really good spots in Memphis. I was actually talking about this last night. One of my problems with it, though, is if you try to order it on delivery from these apps, which is probably my fault for trying to do, it's very expensive.
Yeah, so, I don't do that.
Yeah, I need to go to the place.
I drive up. We're Golden India people in terms of that. Like at least once a month, we're getting Golden India takeout, and so we get Memphis Pizza Cafe takeout sometimes too. So I spend a decent amount of time driving down the little alley in Overton Square and pulling up and turning my little blinkers on. And then going to get the takeout.
That's the move. But but I think the best places are if you drive out, like in this Hacks Cross area that we're kind of talking about. And there's like Hyderabad House, and there used to be Curry Bowl.
Curry Bowl, right?
Yep, those are the really, really good ones.
That is a problem for me. Is I don't like curry.
That so will do it.
Yeah, there is that. That's like a side note. Or I'm not crazy about curry. So that kind of does.
So what's your? I mean, curry is sort of a broad term, but like what's your typical go-to order?
Oh, I don't even know. I go so infrequently. I really am not learned or particularly. I mean, I've eaten Indian food I mean, under 10 times in my life.
It's an issue in my home because
And
my
I'm
wife,
old.
because we get Indian takeout all the time, and my wife and children insist on chicken tikka masala every single time. I'm like, can we please shake this up a little bit?
Yeah.
But I'm a believer in getting multiple things. If you're multiple people, getting multiple things, and everyone sharing a little bit of everything instead of like, this is my.
This is
thing.
why we got to go to the buffet, Chris.
Yes, we got to do it.
Yeah.
Road trip.
Yeah.
Road trip. We don't even need a nutty
It's a
buddy
road trip
to go
to
out to
Hacks
Hacks
Cross.
Cross. Right.
That's a long drive.
When Midtowners go to
right.
Hacks Cross, it's like the Oregon Trail.
that's
When
right.
my
We got to
kids-
get our wagon.
When my kids were little and they would have a thing at St. George's, you literally, I can't even tell you how many St. George's school, I can't even tell you how many times I'd pull off the highway to look at my map and go, there's no way it's this far. There's literally no way. And all the Midtown parents would get there and be like, where am I? I had to stop for gas. Like, people are just absolutely overreacting. And I was one of them. We're coming up. Chicago. I was going to say about Chicago and food. Some of the best food I've ever had in my life is in Chicago.
Do tell. I'm going to be going there a lot.
Over
now.
like Girl and the Goat over on the West Loop.
I think we've eaten there a few years
I
ago.
can't remember. It's a
at
French
lunch.
bistro kind of place that's on the West Loop where I got really arguably the best cheeseburger I've ever
Oh,
had.
you're talking about Au Cheval.
Au Cheval.
And I've not been there, but the cheeseburger became so popular at Au Cheval that they started a second restaurant called Small Cheval that was
Yes.
just for the burgers. And now there are like
That's
4 or
great.
5 Small Chevals around town, and that is on my to-do list. But we haven't. Our daughter who goes to school, that's why we went to
that's
Chicago.
right. Of course.
Yeah, so our daughter's at DePaul. She's a first-year freshman. I don't know what terminology they use. Different schools use different terminology there. So she's in Chicago now, which is why we are going to be going to Chicago a lot over the next few years. But our daughter, does not eat beef or pork.
Yeah.
She'll eat chicken and seafood. She doesn't eat beef or pork. And so we got to branch out away from her to go to Small Cheval. But I want to go to at least Small Cheval, if not Au Cheval, and get a burger. Yeah.
There's so much good food there. There's another place whose name I can't remember. I shouldn't have brought this up because I can't remember the name of it. It's right near. It's like we tried to go to Girl and the Goat, couldn't, and we kind of wandered in for brunch in this place, and it was amazing. It's just I don't know if it's an underrated food city, but I don't always think of it. People talking about Chicago being this incredible food city. It's amazing.
I got to investigate more. So I am not generally a fancy burger guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was whenever they first started doing them a long time ago. And like, the gastropub burger, because I was like, you can get something besides American cheese. And now I'm kind of come around to maybe I do just want American cheese on this griddle burger. You know,
yes.
like maybe that's actually what I want in my
the
heart.
meltiness of the American cheese. No, I think it's one of those things that like the low and the high have come together in accordance on the on the American cheese, and the middle brow people can have their cheddar, but like the fancy chefs and the regular people both know that like the melty American cheese is the way to go on a burger.
I kind of like all of them. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't like a
Yeah, I
bad,
don't dislike
but
them.
I can remember, like, back to road trip food and gas stations. I can remember having a pretty good microwave cheeseburger in a gas station. I mean, you really hit the spot. It's like microwave pizza. Like, I'm not opposed.
No.
These are like, I mean, it's funny.
I'm not saying it's as good as good
we part
pizza,
ways
but
there.
I think
it's really weird.
My sense is you generally eat much healthier than I do and think about that more, but yet you will cross lines I will not cross.
Oh yeah.
Like eating
I will.
at Arby's,
I will.
period?
Yeah, absolutely. I will absolutely. Like one of the things I used to love when the kids were little, we'd have all these friends over, and we'd make like bagel bites. And bagel bites are horrible. I would eat 20 bagel bites. I would eat so many bagel. I would eat them just nonstop intake of bagel bites. It was this incredible excuse to eat junk food.
What my daughter and her friends do, and I'm now her college roommate, who she had never, someone she had never met until a month ago. So apparently, it's like it's a free floating contagion that's spread among the youth around the country. Also does is
Too soon,
It's not
Chris.
just that she eats pizza rolls, which that's fine. She eats microwave pizza rolls, and if it's not crunchy, I can't imagine. A microwave pizza
Oddly enough,
roll?
I think I'd probably like that. There is a weird part of
a mushy pizza roll? That sounds kind of gross.
Fish stick and
Yeah.
TV dinner upbringing that there's something about that kind of frozen Geno's.
I need
thing.
the crunch though. Like at least put it in a little air fryer or something.
Right.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah.
The air fryer.
Do you have an air fryer?
Talk about a free floating contagion across
right.
society.
Yeah, right. I have not vowed to not have an air
Whitfield
fryer.
makes her pizza rolls in an air fryer.
That is the funniest. most misguided example
Yeah.
of like bouginess that anyone has ever
You're
accused.
so hoity-toity with your air fryer.
I'm really.
I do not have an air fryer. I am certainly not vowed to not get one, but I've never.
I have a
it's one of
little
those things.
stopped
bitty
cooking
one
years
that's
ago.
just perfect.
Would you
for, like-
recommend?
I would actually. I mean, you don't like have to heat up your kitchen and your
Right,
oven
right.
if that's a concern you have if you live in a really old midtown house like me.
Yeah.
And you can just have your little one serving of fries or your 7
All right.
nicely crunchy pizza rolls.
I'm going to take that under advisement.
I don't have a toaster oven. I have a toaster and I have an air fryer. That is how I do things.
When you brought up the all cheval, small cheval thing, I was thinking like, is there a Memphis version of that? Is it like the burger at Bishop? That's
Yeah,
the
that-
one
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Or like
I
the
love
John
that
T.
burger.
Edge burger, maybe from like Hagen Hominy.
I feel like the John T. Edge thing is more
because Hagen Hominy is already casual.
more of a fancy version of a fast food burger kind of thing. Whereas the Bishop, I've been to Bishop a few times, but it's like not enough to where I'm like, I'll just get the burger because I feel like I'm at Bishop. I should not order a burger, but now I feel like I need to just go get and get the burger.
The burger is amazing
because
it's so good.
the photos of the burger are amazing.
Yeah, we used to get them in. It's a pandemic thing for me. We'd get them and take them down to the bluff, and sit outside with a bottle of wine and just go, God, this world is a dumpster fire, but this cheeseburger is amazing. So and we did that a lot. That was definitely comfort food. But those cheeseburgers are really good, and
I
it's like the
haven't
Ocean
tried
Ball
it.
one.
Well, now
Yeah,
I
it's
want to get
really
a
good.
Bishop burger to go and take it down to Tomley Park.
Yeah,
That's what I wanna
yeah.
do.
No, it's really. Oh, did we do that? No, we took Gus's down to the new park recently. So,
That is a move.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, with a bottle of wine and a paper bag.
We've done
Whatever it was.
We've
I don't
done
know how we did
Hive. We've done Hive like breakfast
I thought you
bagels
said
and
we got
pastries.
high. I was like, oh, okay, we're doing
well,
that.
that's
now.
a possibility too. But we got stuff from Hive and walked it down to Tomley
Yeah.
Park. But Gus's, that's really the move.
Oh, it was good. It was
Yeah.
it was good. It was weird, kind of, because you're just greasy and gross, and you're sitting on this beautiful bench in this beautiful sunset, and you're just filthy, but in a good way
mean,
because it's Gus's.
Fried chicken's outside food. I mean,
Yeah.
that's that
Oh,
classic
yeah.
picnic
It's a
kind of
picnic
food.
food.
You
No,
know?
That was good.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
good. We should have switched to, not that you have to stop, but for people thinking they're turning into Sidebar, the millions
No,
of people.
Sonny Sherrick, take the lead.
No, I don't.
Go
No, you
play.
can keep talking. But I did want to say I'm Eric Barnes, and we're here with Chris Herrington and Holly Whitfield for Pledge Week, and we should probably ask you to donate. Donate now. It's Pledge Week. Donate at WYXR.org or call 901-460-3031. You can also go to the website. You can go to the app. And again, WYXR is listener-supported nonprofit radio. So whatever you can do, become a member, give any amount. It really does make a difference. I think we're at 68% of the goal for the week.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a ways to go.
And this is a volunteer-driven station, but that doesn't mean there aren't a lot of costs, that a
Yeah.
volunteer-driven station needs. One of the big expenses we have here is marketing. And with donorship, we can underwrite the cost of designing, printing, distributing materials that can get the WYXR name to parts of Memphis that they've yet to learn about us. And we want to reach more ears and more hearts in Memphis, and your support during this fall pledge drive will help us expand our marketing footprint, enabling us to connect with people all around the Memphis area. And frankly, WYXR can reach around the world. Like, if Memphis is in your heart, you don't have to be in Memphis, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so, if you go to WYXR.org or get the WYXR app on your phone, not only can you listen live anywhere, one of the cool things to me is you can go find archives of shows.
That's one of the best things.
And I'm not suggesting anyone needs to go back and re-listen to this hour of WYXR, but
I don't know.
I think the last half hour was pretty special.
But whatever kind of music you like, just
Holly Whitfield and an air fryer.
yeah. But whatever kind of music you like, just scan through the guide and say, well, let me go back. I'll just bring this up and I'll listen all day to this show. You could do that if you want to.
Yes, absolutely. And 3 years, they just WYXR just celebrated its 3rd year anniversary, which is pretty freaking amazing, and it just keeps growing. And Raised by Soundfest coming up with Cat Power, so it's pretty amazing. It's one of those things. It's one of the best compliments we get about Daily Memphian is that when we just had our 5-year anniversary, and people say it seems like you've been around a lot longer, and that I always take that as a real compliment. And I think WYXR is the same way, where it feels like it's been around because it's a very genuine, very of Memphis place and Memphis people place. So it's only been 3 years, but it feels like much longer to me. There's JB, Jared Boyd, walking by the window.
I mean, one of the cool things about doing...
We thought he was at the playoffs. No, sorry.
One of the cool things about doing shows here, whether it's running our mouths or spinning records, and I tend to, because I talk too much in my regular life,
Words I would not say about Chris Herrington.
My radio show that I do in the afternoons, at least for a couple more weeks, It won't be the case this afternoon because we'll be talking a lot about the pledge drive. But I typically play like 57 minutes of music in an hour-long show, and like just try to talk as little as possible.
Yeah,
if I can get away with it.
Well, that's good though.
It's like spinning tunes.
This is
man.
people. Here's Jared Boyd walking in here. Jeff Coran walking in here. Board member, part of the Star Chamber. That is the board of WYXR because I'm a board member too.
But I was going to say one of the cool things about doing radio here at WYXR is sitting in this little aquarium in the middle of the main atrium of the Crosstown Concourse, which is sort of like the Peabody lobby of Midtown Memphis or whatever.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. It is that.
Like if you just come to the main atrium, you may see like Craig Brewer just sitting around waiting for people to come talk to him and hold court. You know,
waiting for people to come talk to him.
Yeah, there's no telling what you might see going down.
See him editing scripts. It's pretty wild. Like sometimes he's here very late at night editing a script. It's very cool.
But sitting in the studio, sometimes you feel like, and this is a reference that not all people may get, but I think a lot of people. If you ever seen like Do the Right Thing, Samuel L. Jackson is the DJ who's sort of like the Greek chorus of the movie, Senor Love Daddy, and like he's like behind this thing, like commenting on what the street scene around him, and you can sort of feel like that here. You're like sometimes you have people walk up and try to talk to you, and they don't understand that you can't hear them
anything
through the glass.
Yeah,
I always come and I see who's in here, who's on the air. Like half the time I know them, say hey. I always run into people I know when I come here to work or eat or whatever, and so WYXR feels like really literally physically embedded in part of the Memphis community, and I like that about it.
It's also part of it, I can't tell you how many people think that the Daily Memphian has our offices are here. People say it to me all the time, and I think it's because you, Chris, work here so much. I work here so much.
Right.
Now you're 9 months with us, 10 months with us. Keely Brewer's here all the time.
Yeah.
Like other people associated, staff of the Daily Memphian are here working all the time, and people are like, oh no, you guys that's where your office is.
A lot of
right?
people were like, oh yeah, you're in Crosstown now, and they're like, I always see Eric there.
I know.
No.
Yeah. No,
Some of us would not object to our offices being.
We looked at office space here. That's and there were two reasons we didn't. The main one was they didn't have anything built out, and it was just going to be really expensive.
And you needed to get out of the building at least.
Well,
sometime.
the other thing I was like, and I can't do. And we're Todd Richardson, the president of Crosstown Redevelopment Corp, whatever. One of the founders and visions of this place. He was showing us the space. It was me and Andy Cates, and I was like, and I was trying to be like objective, but in my head afterward when we realized it just wasn't going to work, it was way too expensive. I was like, yeah, I would die. And Todd still has many days where he does not go outside and certainly doesn't leave the campus. So I see him often here, and I'm like, have you left today? And usually he's like, no, I haven't left in days.
It is Pledge Drive week here on WYXR. This is a Sound Bites sidebar crossing the streams situation this hour here with Eric Barnes, Holly Whitfield. That's a Ghostbusters
There's no 5
reference.
seconds delay. Oh, yeah, of course, that's what I was thinking. It's totally a Ghostbusters thing.
It's a Ghostbusters thing.
Yeah. You didn't tell us, by the way, during the break.
That's a key plot twist.
But let's also, we got to make some rules here. I thought the mics were off, and I almost told a fairly inappropriate story.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. I have the headphones on, so I wasn't aware of the changes in the room or lack
I'm impressed
thereof.
that you're running the board, so thank you for doing that.
The board, not radically unlike the board of my old college radio station back in the day, which was also 91.7 FM.
Really?
This station has a lot more reach than that station did.
Look at us. Oh, wait, Robbie Grant.
Oh, well, we have an
updating
update.
the numbers. We are going into the 90s.
We're
going into the 90s.
Can I ring the bell? Is that what I do? All right.
Is there a bell?
We got a couple donations over there. That's that ding sound.
All right. We want to thank Benton Pratt for a donation made during this hour. We love to see that. Thank you, Benton. We also have a donation from Warren W. Patton Jr., and that is awesome. Thank you to Benton, and thank you to Warren for donating here for the WYXR Pledge Drive. And
that's the sound that we went to 69.
We are up to
Right on.
69% of our goal. If someone else wants to make the joke, they're welcome. I'm gonna
This is en fuego
We'll
today.
pass
It's
on
just
that.
wow.
Most kids are at school.
Just an HR violation here live on WYXR.
Yeah, so there we are. We've moved up a peg. If you would like to make it less awkward in the studio, we can bump it up to 70%.
Please hurry.
You can make that happen.
Please help me.
Even $1 can help. I don't know if $1 will bump us up to 70, but $1 will help WYXR reach our pledge to drive goal and grow in the long term.
$50. That'll do it.
Let's do it. Make it happen.
Is that what it is?
Yep,
Okay.
that's what we're saying.
We are a nonprofit community radio station raised by sound. We rely on your support to continue providing you with the best possible programming. Whether this hour has been that or not, we'll leave that up to you. But most of the rest of it is, I promise you. You can grow and help us grow in the long term. Your donation, no matter how small or how big, will help us to support our 90-plus volunteer DJs, produce a variety of local programming, including music shows, news, and cultural events, maintain our equipment and facilities, expand our outreach to the community. Again, we have, thanks to our recent donations from Benton and from Warren there, we're putting numbers on the board. We're moving towards our goal. We're making progress this hour, and we love to see that.
Yeah. Wait, I forgot that I hadn't donated, so we may have gotten out of this awkward
Oh,
situation.
Eric is going to try to move the number.
Trying to move the number.
I got my hand on the bell in case that happens. But we're about 15 minutes away from the end of the double decker show here. I'm not sure what's coming up at noon. I do know that at 4 today, I will be back on the air with my show Sing All Kinds from 4 to 5. And then from 5 to 6, I know that Eric Plumley will be rocking as usual on Burnt Ends, a show that follows me. Jim Spake has the show before me, and Jim Spake is a joy to hear on the radio. So all kinds of people who know lots about music and do cool radio shows, plus me, coming up later today.
Speaking of music, what music in the last year have you seen that stands out, shows and such? And same for Holly.
We have, there we go, Eric Barnes. Eric Barnes, we need Robbie to come in here and update the number if possible, but if we can get there. But Eric Barnes, thank you for donating. The buzzer.
It wasn't this Eric Barnes, it was a different one.
I got to ring the bell. What have I seen live? I have always been more of a record guy than a concert guy, and that's become even more true in my dotage.
But where'd you go with your daughter this summer?
We went to Nashville this summer. Yeah, this summer. We father-daughter indie rock road trip. We went to see Yo La Tengo.
Yeah.
In Nashville,
so cool.
And it was great. This is the way concerts are supposed to be. It was in a small club. We walked right up, and we were like 15 yards from the front of the stage, and they played for 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. A set, a break. A set, a break, and a cool encore with local guest stars, and it was $30, and this is the way things should
That's
be.
awesome.
Wow.
That's so cool.
It's like the polar opposite of the big giant concerts
Yes.
by She Who Must Not Be Named
I
happening
don't.
now.
Yeah.
I am not. My daughter went to Nashville for those without me. I would have gone. I just didn't want to pay for it. But I am not a fan generally of like big stadium arena shows. I like either theater shows or club shows. Man, I like the vibe of that.
Some of my favorite shows I've ever seen have been at the Orpheum.
Yeah.
The Orpheum to me, I love the club thing. That is super awesome. And like Green Room and Crosstown Theater, it's
you
been
get a little
really cool.
You get a little tired of standing after a while, but
like if you're going to have a couple thousand people, to me the Orpheum, I mean, just it's amazing.
And I like amphitheater shows if the weather's nice. I prefer a standalone amphitheater show to like festival stuff.
Yeah.
I was at the most recent thing I've seen was Jason Isbell.
Yeah.
I was out at the Memphis Botanic Gardens. Great show. A little bit of mess on the food service, but the show was good. Jason Isbell got his University of Memphis diploma before the show.
His honorary.
Not honorary. No, not honorary.
Me.
They have a program called, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called the Finish Line program. They have a program not just for him, for any student who's like a couple credits short of their degree. There's a program you can do, a process you can go through to finish your degree. You have to you have to give a portfolio of work you've done in your career that's relevant to your studies. With Jason Isbell, that's like check out my Spotify page, right?
Right.
But then you also have to do some paperwork, and you have to do like an essay and respond to questions about how the work of your career that you've done since you've left relates to your studies. For him, he was I believe a double English music major, so that was a pretty easy one to do. But he had to go through the whole process, and it took a while. I know about this because my wife was involved in it, and we had Jason Isbell's University of Memphis diploma in the back of our car for 2 days. And so we transported the diploma to the show. My wife did not present the diploma. Someone else, the dean of the college that his degree came from, presented it. But we just sort of transported it to the show, and then we went and sat in our lawn chairs and watched the music.
Yeah.
But that was cool. I went to Garner Fest a little bit this year. That was fun.
We missed that. We were out of town for that. I wanted to go.
Yeah. How about you?
What I had a great time. Robert Plant and Alison Krauss at the
Music Fest?
Music Fest. That
Yep.
was awesome. And Music Fest I thought was great this year. I think obviously a lot of change going on there. I thought it was really
I
good.
thought it was very pleasant for the people who were there.
Yeah,
and I was one of them. One of the days,
yeah,
I enjoyed
it was-
Living Color at Music Fest.
Oh yeah. Who else did we see? We went to see someone else, and then talking about arena shows, we're going in a couple weeks to Las Vegas to see U2 in the
Oh, fancy
Sphere.
schmancy.
I know. It's so expensive. It's beyond obnoxious. And I just thought that album, Octung Baby, that they're doing, that's my favorite of their albums. I didn't go see them on.
I reviewed that album for my high school newspaper.
Wow. Yeah. I was not in high school.
It may have
when
been my
came
first
out.
published record review.
Yeah.
I would like to read it.
I would not. I would hate to read that.
Yeah, it's like the first year behind the headlines. I've never watched those shows, and I never will. But yeah, so we're going out seeing that. It's going to be Carrie Hayes, friend of the show, friend of Daily Memphian, is actually went last night. He was a good friend of mine. I said, you can't tell me anything, and he said, all I'm going to tell you is it was really great. That's all I'm going to say. I was like, okay,
I
that's
saw
all you can
Carrie
say.
Instagramming about that today.
Yeah.
Actually,
See, I've been trying to avoid all the videos and all the stuff because the thing itself, the Sphere itself, is this big extravaganza. I'm sure that'll be amazing, but I'm kind of like you. I'd just like to go see them do Octung Baby. I'd be perfectly happy to see them do that in the Orpheum or something like that, but that's not going to
So
happen.
my wife and I had talked about road tripping to New Orleans next month for Liz Phair, Exile, and Guyville 30th anniversary tour. But now that she's had this job thing, that's not going to work. We did road trip at some point in the past year down to Oxford, and our daughter's boyfriend went too. They drove separately because my wife and I stayed overnight, and they had to drive back and go to school the next day. But we all went to Oxford to see Big Thief at the Lyric Theater.
Cool.
My daughter and I actually have a lot of overlap in music we like, both old and new.
Yeah.
We're both big Thief fans.
Yeah.
Big Phoebe Bridgers
My daughter
fans.
also, my son also, but my daughter, I mean, we went and saw Godspeed You Black Emperor. I mean, who likes Godspeed You Black Emperor who's, 20 something? She was 19. She was like, yeah, I want to go. And anyway, but what have you seen this year?
What have you
Holly?
seen?
Well, night before last, I was in Nashville for the Nick Cave concert
that's
at the
right.
Ryman, which was incredible. And I'm not like a huge Nick Cave fan, but
So is this like a Nick Cave and the Bad Seed
no,
show? Or was
this
it just
is
him?
him, very stripped down with his piano, but he had Colin Greenwood from Radiohead
Yeah.
on the
Oh, wow.
bass. I mean, it was amazing. Like I said, I'm not a huge Nick Cave fan, but it like in that venue, in that moment,
Yeah.
and just him being weird and goth in his piano was very cool. On the full other end of the musical spectrum, I recently also went into a concert not really knowing it was at the Bluff, which is a Memphis one. We've been talking about a lot of out-of-town concerts, but the Bluff over on Highland, there is a like 90s popular country cover band in Memphis called the Neon Mooners.
Okay, I need some set list info on this.
Okay, well, I am not up on my 90s country, but like you would have recognized every single song.
Okay.
They put on a great show. They've like got the cowboy hats and the jeans and the stuff. And my friend Mary Oglesby, who's one of the owners of Cameo Bar in Memphis, was like, come to this Neon Mooner show with me. And I was like, let's do it. Why not? It was like Saturday night. Going over to the Bluff.
Was it like more bro-y kind of stuff, or was there like some Dixie Chicks covers going on?
There
or
was
what?
a Dixie.
Okay.
There was the Chicks. There was a Chicks cover, and it was just all the popular. I mean, Achy Breaky Heart.
Right.
All of that good stuff. But I looked around at one point, and the entire audience was women. It was all women watching these guys in their country tight jeans and their cowboy hats and stuff, and I was like, oh, I get it now.
That's going on.
It was super fun though. Apparently they play all the time over there, so there's a lot of good local shows that aren't gonna break your bank or force you to have 800 friendship bracelets or fly to Vegas. And
Yeah.
that was just a fun thing that I wish I could tell you more of the songs they played, but
Well,
I don't know them.
a friend of my friend Kevin and I went to Gallerfest together, and we saw this band, the Mummies, who were the headliner on Saturday night. We knew nothing about the Mummies. I knew a little bit because I interviewed Eric Fredel and Zach Ives from Galler to do a preview story for the Daily Memphian, and I did a little research. But prior to that, I had no idea. But this is like a garage punk band from Northern California, and they all dressed like mummies, like the mummies from 1930s horror movies. And they were great, and they were really fun. But what was cool about it is like there's a whole thing. If you're a Mummies fan, I don't know what Mummies groupies are called. I have no idea. You throw toilet paper. And so people are throwing rows of toilet paper and like zooming in the air, like fireworks basically, and streamers of toilet paper, and it was kind of fun.
Wow, that's pretty good. I also saw Sugar Ross. the Icelandic,
Yes.
super
Oh.
pretentious art rock, orchestral art rock. I saw them in Boston, which I'd seen them at the Ryman in maybe 2 years ago, and it was amazing. And the show in Boston was good, wasn't as good. And it's maybe back to, it was a much bigger venue, but it was it's kind of like an Orpheum sort of venue. But anyway, that's a very peculiar sort of thing if you like.
I did see the
chivalrous.
Death Cab for Cutie Postal Service 20 anniversary tour in Boston.
Oh,
also
really?
This year, I had
Nice.
almost forgotten about that, which is squarely like my age group. I'm even maybe like 1 or 2 years older than that, but all my girlfriends that were there, like, we listened to this album 100 times
So,
our senior year of high school.
I remain confused about this. Jenny Lewis is not the woman in Postal Service, but she's on a song. How does that
she
work?
is the woman
She is
in Postal.
So is she?
Oh,
so
she
this
is.
tour
So
was
she
her
was
too.
there. Yes.
That's great.
Yeah, so Death Cab for Cutie came out. They played Transatlanticism, the whole album, top to bottom, and then they played the one Postal Service album with Jenny Lewis,
Right.
and the producer guy whose name I can't remember. Sorry to that man, but it was awesome. I mean, they just played it all the way through. It was every white millennial for like 200 miles around. We were all there in one room.
I saw Death Cab for Cutie, part of their set at Music Fest a couple years ago.
Me too.
And
That was excellent.
Jenny
it was excellent, and I'm not I wasn't. I just was kind of standing there,
Right.
And that started, and I was like, "Oh, this is so good."
very good.
Jenny Lewis also played Music Fest sometime in the last 3 or 4 years.
I didn't see her there.
Yeah, she did a set. We missed, obviously, a lot of news around Music Fest lately. We could talk,
Yes.
talk about it or not.
I didn't read anything. What happened?
The
Catch
one
us up.
the
No,
one
I'm
we
just
completely missed that was like announced and scheduled and COVID disappeared was going to be Yeah. Yes. I was really looking forward to that.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
That would have been a great band to have. Anyway,
Wait, what happened with that? They were going to be at Music Fest.
Well,
Or
the schedule was announced, and then COVID took away the
oh,
entire festival.
right, got it. Okay, I'm
This
sorry,
is
my time got screwed
From
up.
a couple years ago.
Yeah,
Yes,
people
I
complained about
would-
lineups. I thought that was. I don't remember the rest of it. I remember thinking it was a pretty good one. I was particularly excited to see them. You know.
Yeah. We've got just a couple minutes left. We should remind people again to donate at WYXR.org or call 901-460-3031. Again, WYXR is nonprofit, listener-supported radio. You can become a member and get a bunch of member benefits, or you can just donate whatever you got. There's no required amount or no required minimum. It all really helps. We're almost at 70% of goal for the week for this pledge drive. So again, it's, although as Chris said better than I will say, while it is volunteer radio and everybody on air basically is a volunteer, there's still a lot that goes on. I'm a board member here, and I know we're very, very, very responsible with the money we raise and the money we spend, but it does cost a lot to get this thing on the air and get it out. So please consider donating if you can, and go to, again, WYXR.org or the app, or you can call 901-460-3031.
I'm actually going to make my donation right now because I'm one of these people that I'll say, oh, yeah, I really want to do that. I need to get to it. And then I won't ever remember to do it. So if you're like me and you're listening, go ahead and just take a moment.
And unless people think
Yeah.
I'm the cheapskate in the room, I have a standing monthly donation from the
okay.
very first pledge drive.
Yes.
You can do that too. You could just keep it going and give a little bit every month. I believe that is something that you can do, and that is what my family does ever since I started broadcasting on WYXR. So we make a monthly donation to the station.
What else? What have we missed? Anything else? I think we said it in the earlier show in the sound bites portion. It's hard to do this without Jennifer. It's hard. I don't want to bring it all down, but I was trying to think at least 3 of these pledge drives with Jennifer, and it was just absolutely, like everything with Jennifer, just very funny and very unexpected. And shout out Jennifer. We miss her. So
Very much.
I know doing sound bites and just writing about food, or even just existing in Memphis as someone who cares or thinks about food, or even other things too. Like I talked to Jennifer a lot. We were friends for a long time. And I'm constantly, and I think this happens when you lose people in your life. I'm constantly driving around. I see something and I want to I should tell Jennifer about that.
Yeah.
That happens to me a lot.
Yeah, that we had we try to do company daily Memphian gatherings. We did one this week, and people were there, and Natalie Van Gundy couldn't be here today because seminar stuff. She was like, it was sad to be there without Jennifer, because Jennifer was at every one of those gatherings we would do, and pulling me aside and complaining about where we'd chosen. why didn't we go here? And why didn't we do this? I'm like, well, you do it next time. I think it was more fun to complain about it. But We miss her. But you guys are doing a great job with sound bites, and so if people haven't been tuning in, they should. And Chris is
You've been
on many, if not most of them.
I think
You
so.
and I did one or two of them.
Yeah, and I did one where I hosted with Bianca and talked about
Yeah.
vegan food, but lots of other stuff too.
It's a little bit of a work in progress. We're sort of navigating our way through it, but I've been heartened by some of the response I know I've gotten from listeners. I got an email. I got an email today from a listener about the road food one, actually. So shout out to Betsy if you're out there listening.
Thanks, Betsy.
Yeah.
What was interesting at Jennifer's funeral was tragic, but was really amazing. And the people who spoke, and Jeff spoke, and Natalie spoke, and Peggy Birch, Natalie read her thing, and Martha Hampel, and I think I just forgot
Kelly English.
And Kelly English, thank you, sorry.
And Jennifer's daughter, Megan.
And Jennifer's daughter, Megan. It was just amazing. It was an amazing group. It was super sad. But the podcast got an amazing... It was like a very present thing. Like I think everybody who spoke talked about sound bites and how that was a way they connected. Jeff was the best in his way, saying, he'd been listening to the podcast because he missed her, and it was a way to hear her voice. Right. I have not listened. It is something I will definitely do eventually, but I have not. But but it is a kind of cool record of her. But it was just a really interesting shout out. That whole funeral was in a kind of subtext. There was people who connected with her through the podcast.
As somebody who had known of Jennifer and known her kind of from afar for many years, but was really looking forward to getting to know her better and didn't get a chance, attending that funeral gave me this real understanding of kind of who she was, and made me sad because I missed getting to know her a little bit better. But it was very meaningful. So I'm honored to be able to come on and talk about food on sound bites or here or anywhere, really.
Yeah. Food, I think, is an inherently conversational topic. Mm-hmm. And Jennifer loved talking to people, probably even more than she loved food, right? And so, I think, when you're in the realm, we have a lot of, podcast things we do at the Daily Memphian. 2 of them double as radio shows here in WYXR with the Sound Bites and the Sidebar. We have other, sports and politics and everything else.
Right.
And when you're trying to think about, what fits in that paradigm and what doesn't, to me, food is a natural thing that fits there. Everyone eats, everyone likes to talk about what they've been eating. But our time is about up.